Hello and welcome to Iridium Rock and Metal Reviews, and we've got a new AC/DC album out. Came out 13th of November, this Friday just gone, and it's called Power Up. It's the 18th studio album by AC/DC. So what do you expect from an AC/DC album? Well, I've written a few things down here. They've really experimented on this album. I'd say it's like a cross between Dream Theater, Journey, and maybe a little bit of Queensryche mixed in, but keeping that sort of AC/DC sound, that we like. It's not, it's AC/DC. You'll be glad to know it's nothing like that. So, how disappointed would you be if it sounded something like that? I don't think that's ever going to happen, and don't we love it that it doesn't. So, there's been some issues leading up to this album being recorded. There was the sad death of Malcolm Young. To rest in peace, Malcolm Young. Brian Johnson had some problems as well during leading up to this. He had some hearing problems, and Axl Rose from Guns N' Roses actually took over a few shows, live shows. Phil Rudd got into some serious issues as well, to say the least. So yeah, very eventful leading up to the album. It's a possibility there might not have even been an album, but here it is, Power Up. So let me tell you a little bit of my history with AC/DC though, and it'll be a quick history, my history of AC/DC. Absolutely loved the Bon Scott era. Loved every album that came out in the Bon Scott era. Massive part of me growing up, late 70s, early 80s. Obviously I know that Bon Scott died before the 80s, but through the 80s I was listening to the Bon Scott stuff all the time. Then obviously the tragic death of Bon Scott. Loved Back in Black t-shirt as well to prove it. Love Back in Black, one of the best albums ever recorded by any band. For Those About to Rock I thought was okay, obviously nowhere near Back in Black. And then slowly but surely, I sort of went off of AC/DC and just probably heard the odd song, the odd single, and that was about it, and basically left AC/DC alone all them years. Maybe I saw a song or two on TV, the song on the radio, but that was as far as my AC/DC sort of history went. So, but I've actually thinking about this. I love Brian Johnson's voice. It's got nothing to do with Brian Johnson's voice. I just think musically they went downhill. So they might have gone downhill even if Bon Scott lived. Who knows? Who knows? That's just, you never know that. But So it's nothing to do with Brian Johnson whatsoever. He's got a great voice and he suits AC/DC down to the ground. So I'm sort of glad that I haven't got anything sort of recent to compare this to as such. And I don't really want to compare it to those Bon Scott and Back in Black albums. They are just fantastic albums, and it'd be hard to compare any album, to those. So Power Up is sort of standing on its own for me. I'm sort of reviewing this quite fresh, which is good for me. And who knows, I might not have even, if it weren't for this channel, I might not have even reviewed this. But now I've got this channel and it's an important release, and time to review the new AC/DC album Power Up. So I think it is a really great album. Obviously this is AC/DC down to a T. As soon as it comes on, there's no hiding the fact that, I know I made a little joke earlier on, but there's no hiding the fact that it's AC/DC. So, but what we're getting from this AC/DC is quite an energetic AC/DC. And from those few songs that I heard for all those years I left it alone, that's what I felt was missing. And that's probably why I didn't explore the band that much, because of the energy seemed to be missing. Whereas it was at its full peak, wasn't it, during the Bon Scott years, and then Back in Black as well. But I think what helps with the energy on this album as well is the production. The the drums especially, you've got some really loud, they've got in the mix, they've got the hi-hat and the cymbals quite loud, and I think that gives a real energetic live sort of feel to the recording. Every other instrument's really bang up there. It's not like the drums are drowning anything out. The guitar's right up there from Angus Young. The vocals are nice and clear, and let's just make just a shout out to Brian Johnson, because from all the trouble he's had, his vocals are top notch. Probably as strong as I've ever heard him, even on Back in Black. Absolutely amazing vocals on this. I'm really impressed with this album, and you know, it's like some of it you could say is a little bit throwaway, or some parts of songs are, but I don't dislike any of these songs. I don't, you know, there's parts of every one of them I like, and there's parts of some of the songs that I like all the way through. So let's just go through it track by track quickly. Kicks off with Realise, which I think is the third song that was released. There's like a trend little bit with some of these these songs earlier on the album, where the verses are really strong and the chorus is not so much. I think this is one of them. The verses seem to stick out to me as that real classic AC/DC sound, but then the choruses don't really, they're okay, but they're not outstanding where they really, a chorus should lift the whole song. But the song Realise itself is a great a really great opener, and probably one of the best openings. If you actually choose one of these songs on this album, it'll probably be the best one for it. It's a great sounding opener, and Angus's solos all the way through this. Let's just mention it now. Really distinctive sound to his guitar. You know, he's got that real rawness about it on here. I love it. His solos sound great on here all the way through it. So Realise is a good track. Next one is Rejection. Once again, I think the verses sort of stand out. They're the best part of this for me, but the chorus is still okay, but the verses are the best. Sort of a stop-starting riff going on, which is really good. Next one, third, Shot in the Dark, the first song released. Yeah, I like this. I like this song. I liked it when I first heard it. It's sort of like, again, for me, and I know it sounds a bit like a stuck record, but it's like the verses are, again, the strongest part, but the chorus is still okay. At this stage, from an AC/DC album, it's really, really what you would expect, you know, but from what I've heard, people talking about this album as well, it is one of the stronger ones, and you know, I can't really compare it, but it seems a really good album to me so far. It's a really good opening 3 tracks, and we move on to number 4, my favourite track actually of the whole album, Through the Mists of Time. It's got a real good groove. It's a little bit southern rock sort of sounding to me. I might just be miles away from that, but it sounds a little bit southern rock, and this is for me the first time where the chorus has really stood out. It's really catchy, and I just think this is a great song. You know, it's got sort of hidden melodies where you first hear it, and by the end of the song it's so catchy. It's a lot more catchy than you first thought the song was. Through the Mists of Time is a great song, one of the best AC/DC songs I've heard in a long time. Next is Kick You When You're Down, another southern type sort of riff going on. Through the verses, a real fun song. Obviously after Through the Mist of Time, it took a lot to live up to, so you know, maybe it's a better song than I think it is. It's just Through the Mist of Time was an outstanding song for me. But Kick You When You're Down is a nice rocker. I like the chorus on this actually. You don't get any sort of cymbal crashes. It's sort of bass, drum and snare going on. I really like that. I think it's cool. Next, number 6 is Witch's Spell. Another song where the chorus stands out though as the best thing. So the choruses are really lifting now. I like Witch's Spell. I think it's a great track. Next is my least favourite track, and that's Demon Fire. I think it was the second song released. Now, it's nice to have a sort of change of tempo, which this does. It's a faster track. But I just couldn't get into this track. You know what? I still like it. It's my least favourite, but I still like the track. But it's definitely my least favourite on the whole album. But it's nice to have a bit of a change of pace, because a lot of the time AC/DC sort of keep to this medium sort of pace songs. So, I don't know. I like the pace of it, but not so much the song. It was okay. Next is Wild Reputation. This song here again is okay, a bit paint by numbers AC/DC, a little bit too much. It's a sort of slow to medium song. Not one of my favourites, but okay again. But next we hit some highlights. So next track is No Man's Land. I really love the groove on this. Sort of like a slower sort of groove to it, a bit like Rock and Roll Ain't Noise Pollution, that sort of slowness. Really like this song, one of the highlights of the album. Like this next one as well, Systems Down is a great song. Catchy, a real catchy pre-chorus on this one. And then a great chorus to boot as well. But the pre-chorus really got me on this. Absolutely loved it. Next is Money Shot. The riff on it sounds a bit like All Right Now, Free, from Free. Type riff. Not one of my highlights of the album, but still okay again. At the moment, I've had no weak tracks at all. And it ends on a great track as well, this album, Code Red. Sort of a sort of Back in Black type album song. This would fit right on Back in Black. A great closer. We've got 12 tracks. I think it's only about 40 minutes long, something like that. So it's quite a short album for 12 tracks. Every song's like 3.5 minutes long. So it comes and goes quite quick. I'm really glad I've got this channel, because like I said, I probably wouldn't have even bothered listening to this, you know. And what I'm doing now is I'm listening to things that I might not have listened to, and that's cool. And it's made me listen to the new AC/DC album, and I'll definitely give it a thumbs up. I think it's a great album. I can't really tell you if it's a return to form, because I've left them for all them years. I know there was you got Rock or Bust or Black Ice. I haven't really listened to them. I might have listened to them once, but never really paid much attention. So I did with this album. I've listened to it 3 times now, and I think it's a great sounding AC/DC album with great production, great performances from the guys in the band. What more could you ask for? You want AC/DC, you got it, but you've got a bit of class here as well, you know, just how we want it. So thanks for listening. Hope you like my review, and please subscribe, red button, bottom right hand corner.